Everyone, welcome back to the Italian Film Buff. This is episode 3, and I'm going to ramble on about some stuff about movies, movie critics, Snow White, and Severance, and all of this stuff. A bunch of stuff, a bunch of movies. I'm gonna ramble on, as usual. So bear with me. Has been a minute since the last episode. I'm still trying to find a proper schedule since I'm trying to get back into the loops of speaking English fluently all day long, so bear with me. Anyway, we have so many discussion, and I want to start from something that was triggered by the release of Snow White. To be honest, I refuse to go to the movie theater. Not because I have some or any particular beef with the production. I really don't care. I gave up with those live action adaptation. I think they are soulless. I think they are out of touch. Not because of the discussion is always the same. It's woke. I don't care. I don't care. We can talk about the woke discussion later on. It's going to be part of this opening of this episode. But I just avoided to go to watch Snow White because I genuinely don't care. I think there are other movies that are more interested in. And anyway, I decide that if I don't care about the movie, I don't care as well if my audience, even in my Italian podcast, I said the same thing. I don't care if you guys have fun just listening to a part of this podcast where I just trash the movie because it's really bad. I don't want to watch it. I don't care. It's really, I don't care. And the point of this opening is that I'm kind of bored about all those, let's call them YouTubers, influencer, podcaster, whatever, with a huge audience that basically they think they're talking about cinema or television, but they're not doing, let's give a title to this segment, a proper cinema discussion. Because if the only thing you talk about, the only thing you ramble on continuously, it's the MCU, the DCU, everything under the huge Disney umbrella, so Marvel Cinematic Universe, the Star Wars saga, and I don't know, the new Lord of the Ring adaptation by Amazon. The only thing you talk about are basically massive, gigantic blockbuster or tentpole, and you identify this small fraction of the cinema industry as the cinema industry. I think you are in a bubble. And I think you don't love cinema. You don't love this medium at all. Not because you are not supposed to talk about those massive movies and production, because in a way they are the bread and butter of the industry. Because I believe in the fact that cinema as television, it's a very, very pop medium. And you're gonna need those huge production to afford to make other kind of effort that are more artistic. But mostly, one of the things that I believe in, even when you do pop, even when you work on something pop, this doesn't concern just the cinema industry. This concerns as well music, writing, whatever. You can do pop and be David Bowie. Okay? He was a pop singer, but my God, the level of the music was insane. The Beatles, they were a very popular band, but my God, the level of the music. You can be Steven Spielberg and shoot Jaws, Indiana Jones, and many other movies that he has done along his career, and Close Encounter of the Third Kind. It's a very pop movie. but my God, the level of the movie. Speaking of the way he is, it's directed, the way he's shot, the way he's blocking the scenes, the way the music, the editing. The level is so much high and it's so amazing. Oh, take for example James Gunn. James Gunn, he shoots something like Suicide Squad, or for example, Guardian of the Galaxy. He talks about humanity, being human, kindness, brotherhood, family. He has those amazing themes in his movies, but the level of the directing as well, everything I said before, the level of the cinematography, the cinema, the art that he put in his movie, it's such an amazing effort, it's such an amazing endeavor in the pursuit of a great craft that is cinema. That's amazing pop. That's how you do amazing pop. So you can anyway work in cinema and do pop. You need to have those amazing production, those amazing efforts to make great entertainment, as well as you need to pursue art and maybe talk about shoot amazing drama films as well. You need to have both, because in the history of humankind, everybody got hooked to cinema since it exists, starting from something that it's maybe childish or pure entertainment or whatever. If you just go back in time, Méliès, he was shooting adventure film. He was experimenting with special effect, editing, but he was shooting adventure movies, what it was considered pop, what we can consider pop. But anyway, we study Méliès when we talk about movies. So I'm not here to trash pop, but I'm here saying that there are so many channels like this, The Critical Drinker, Nerdotic. If the only thing you talk about is that small fraction, you can't say, I know Hollywood. You know a small fraction of Hollywood and you know a small fraction of the cinema industry. And I'm kind of bored to listen to discussion about movies that they basically start and finish in the realm of this small fraction of what can be conceived as cinema. Because on those channels, you're never gonna see, I don't know, The Critical Drinker on an expedition to the Cannes Film Festival to cover the event and to talk about the movies that are being released at the Cannes Film Festival. He's never gonna go to Venice. He's never gonna go to the Berlinale in Berlin. He's never going to travel to the South by Southwest to cover a bunch of movies that are being distributed there. He's never going to the Toronto Film Festival. He's never going to Sundance to talk about the new drama, a new biopic, or wherever is coming from. He's never going to talk about David Lynch. David Lynch passed away. Where the fuck is the discussion about the David Lynch? On those kind of channel about movies, they're not there. Even when they talk about TV, they never talk about, I don't know, Severance. They never talk about in depth. I mean, just go in and share with people why they love those movies. They just talk about what they hate, what they despise about the actual situation of the industry. But they never said, okay, but why do I love cinema? Why do I love movies? Let's talk about this film. And they share something that they love about. I think that a proper discussion about cinema should be an enthusiastic discussion. In this episode, I'm going to share my thoughts on The Electric State, that it's a mess. It's a not pipe mess. But anyway, I'm going to talk about some stuff that I loved, that I enjoyed, and I think that are great. You can do both. But you can stop your discussion just on those arguments. Your Christmas can't be Snow White. Snow White can't be your Christmas. Your Christmas is supposed to be, I don't know, the new, I don't know, the new movie coming out in, I don't know, what's the next great release. Now I don't have the calendar with me, but anyway, Your Christmas is supposed to be an a great movie that is about to be released, and maybe it's I don't know, the next Paul Thomas Anderson movie, the next Wes Anderson movie, the next whatever, Scorsese, Christopher Nolan, whatever, but something that excites you. An interview with Cronenberg, an interview with John Carpenter, an interview, I don't know, something about, I don't know, Jim Jarmusch. You want to discuss about Jim Jarmusch. There must be something that made you fall in love with cinema, and you should talk about it. If the only thing you talk about it is Snow White and how dreadful is the movie, because the only thing you managed to build was talking shit about Hollywood, that's super sad. And I believe that because this echo chamber about how Hollywood is trash and how the movie are trash is super huge, and in a way it's part of the collapse of the cinema experience. I believe that in the equation, in the very complex equation about the downfall of the cinema experience, I mean going to the cinema, there are so many factors in these equations that are created by the industry itself. Of course they are. As well, I believe that as well there are so many parts of this complicated equation that can be redirected to influencer, YouTubers, and those people that they just base their huge audience on rage bait and talking shit about movies. And it's something that it's kind of happening in the gaming industry. I'm a big gamer, I love video game, and even in the gaming industry I have enough of people saying, oh, the game industry is in downfall, there are just horrible games out there. No, it's not true. It's a lie. It's a lie fabricated by people that understood that talking shit about stuff is gonna enrage an insane amount of people and is gonna create an engagement. Because there is nothing more, let's say, engaging that rage, disappointment, and complaining about shit. That's gonna create an insane engagement. And you can say, but you're doing the same. Yeah, but I'm doing the same for the sake of, no, we are supposed to have a different discussion, a proper cinema discussion. This is what I'm saying. And this is what I'm going to do right now, talking about Severance Season 2. So, let's talk about it. I watched the last episode a couple of days ago. With my wife, we were watching the show together, and I'm gonna start saying that I'm not going to spoil anything at all. I'm just going to talk about the show in a very wider sense. I'm not going deep into any discussion that it's plot related. So I want to talk about just Severance in general. This season 2, we waited for season 2 for 3 years. And to be honest, chapeau to Ben Stiller. I love Ben Stiller, and I believe it's one of those personality in the movie industry that we have to give a closer look to Ben Stiller, because I fell in love with he directed some project before, but I believe that The Secret Life of Walter Mitty became one of my favorite movies of all time, because inside that movie there are so many messages that today we are keep sharing online, and we are bringing a lot of attention to many discussions about life that are in that movie. And that movie is fucking great. I love that movie. I love the cinematography. I love the way it's directed. I love everything. And I love the intuition that he had when he checked out the screenplay for the concept. The concept. I don't recall if he actually read the screenplay of, or if he just checked out the concept for Severance in a list, and then he said, okay, this is genius, and I'm going to produce this. But anyway, this is not the main point. I loved season 2. I hope that for season 3 we are not going to wait another 2 years, to be honest. To be honest, I hope to see season 3 in, I don't know, I'm not gonna say a year, but at least less than 2 years from now. But anyway, I absolutely loved season 2, and I'm gonna say this. I think this is the most engaging, compelling, amazing executed TV show since Twin Peaks: The Return. I know we are in a weird spot right now that every time something is good, or at least above average, we talk about a masterpiece. Sorry for the noise in the background. I hope the music is gonna cover it. But anyway, sorry about that. Anyway, every time something is above average, we talk about the masterpiece. But most of the time, we are just like exaggerating the reality. I think we are far too kind of we consume so much content in many form, like this podcast that you're listening, that it's amatorial at best, that we kind of change our standard in a way. So every time something is above average, even in Hollywood production with the streaming platform or whatever, that they kind of lower the bar in many cases, and in some cases they actually set a higher bar for standard. But anyway, we have both worlds with the streaming platforms. We kind of exaggerated our reaction to some stuff. So I believe the Severance is the real deal. And I believe that because, first things first, it could be kind of sort of a scam. Because every time you have TV show with a mystery, with a main mystery that is going to move the whole plot and the whole series, you can step into the, let's call it the Lost trap. Lost was a great show, was so engaging, very successful, but was a different TV. It was a TV that was the kind of created by Twin Peaks, by David Lynch and Mark Frost, the way they changed television. Although nobody learned the lesson from David Lynch and Mark Frost. And what they learned was the horrible development that, due to people like Bob Iger and the executive of the, was ABC the network, or if I remember correctly, but anyway, they impose on Twin Peaks, and the way they developed Twin Peaks in a way that was very boring and not interesting at all compared to what Lynch and Frost were doing. But anyway, that was the lesson that everybody else learned, instead of the actual objective of have a television that was more interesting, compelling, and well developed, even talking about writing and mise-en-scene. So Lost was a great TV show, but the mystery behind the whole thing was kind of disappointing. And so they wasted an insane amount of time with other little mystery, but nothing was as relevant as the huge mystery behind everything. So there is always that kind of a letdown, danger of a letdown at the end of the day. But Severance is more precise in the way he talks about his characters, the way he developed the story according to the characters. I believe there is an attention, a love for all the main character involved in the series, that it's very special. And I believe as well that the main mystery, it's kind of honey, is the real honey, because we are starting to discover what Lumon is all about. I also find super funny that what Lumon is all about is also corporate America, because the creator of Severance, I worked for different corporations for many years, most of them American, even if I'm based in Europe. But anyway, many cringe-worthy situation, even what happened in the last episode, are so corporate America and are so weird. I don't know, maybe, I don't know if any of you is American, is listening from America and the United States, but for European, many logic about those corporations are so weird. For us are like, oh God, this is so cringy. And in Severance, many situations that are super weird and cringy, of course they are exaggerated according to the mood of Severance, that it's very weird, that's super intense, and I love it. But anyway, it's exaggerated, but it's that thing. It's really about corporate America, because the creator was in a day job, was stuck in a corporate job, and he hated it, and he wanted to be, he was like, what would happen if I could just detach myself from my work life and my private life, and just shut off, and then let another guy, another part of myself deal with that, and then just leave the office and be back on and keep living with my life without any memories of what I was doing at work, and the boredom and the cringe-worthy stuff and stuff like that. So I love that concept. I love the fact that it was so well developed in the mystery, and the fact that, for example, one of the things I love about Severance is that in a way, the idea of this, the concept of the show, what works so well is that corporate America, the way it's described in Severance, is very tied up to cult, religious cult, and religion in general. So if you check Lumon, the way it was structured, it started as a cult, a sort of Scientology kind of thing, and then he developed it into something that it's more complex, that it's corporate America. And if you work in a corporate, you always have that colleague of yours that is really loyal to the corporation and doesn't understand that you've just been, in a way, kind of, how can I say that? You're just being kind of, you're just a tool. You're just a tool, and the exact day they're gonna need to make their, I don't know, their quarter work for the investor, they're gonna cut your job and many other jobs just to make the financial side work and look more profitable, and look that they do something to make the company grow in a moment of, let's say, financial difficulty, when they just want to look that they're making more money and they're more profitable, saying they're gonna cut your job. Doesn't matter if you put 10 years into that thing. And the episode with the dedicated to Miss Cobell, Patricia Arquette, she's fantastic in the series. Anyway, that episode is really about that. It's also about that. But anyway, I love so many ideas. The whole episode about field trip. I don't know how to say, when they bring the ini outside and they go camping, a sort of company retreat, something like that. It was very creepy, but it was as well about, and it was pushing forward. The thing about Severance is that instead of many TV show, even if they have now all the TV show, they have 8-10 episodes, something like that. Even if we have less episode, many series, they spend a shitload of time to talk about stuff that are not relevant. Sorry, brain fart. Anyway, instead, Severance is always relevant to what they are trying to tell. They push the character, they keep pushing the character in a direction, they evolve the storyline, and it's super, super compelling. And you care about those characters because even if they maintain a little bit of mystery, for example, the character of Christopher Walken, he's they're not going to tell the whole backstory of his character and his husband and whatever. But oh my god, the noise. Anyway, but they're going to give you something about him. They're going to keep those mysteries, the mystery behind this person, in the dark. But they're going to give you every little details about that, what you know about this relationship with another character. Since I don't want to spoil it, I'm not going to say anything about it. But anyway, there is always mystery where, because we need mystery in storytelling. Every time we tell everything about characters, we lose something and we lose interest as well. It's nice to have something that it's in the dark that we don't know. It's dead. I don't want to talk about it. It's not necessary. We know there is something that creates their personality, and that's fine like that. We don't have to explain everything. When we explain everything, things get boring. It's like that that opening from Alan Wake. Explanation are boring. Anyway, what I love about Severance is that as well there is just a small moment of exposition that is kind of fine. It's not annoying. It's not too long. It's not too verbose. It's fine. It's fine. I think they did a good job. But anyway, I love the fact that the dialogue are not. They always hide something. There is amazing character between Mark and Milchik, and they're talking about there are two levels, and that's how dialogue are amazing and compelling. The first level, what you think they are talking about, and then a second level, what they're trying to say behind their words. There is a bigger meaning. There is another thing that they can talk about, but they're talking about that thing. And both Mark and Milchik, after that phone conversation, they move in a different direction because of that phone conversation. And it's amazing. Milchik, I loved about I love basically how in this season they push forward this character. And even if for us it's a bad guy, let's call him a bad guy, we care about this character because there is something in him it's very compelling and fascinating. And I believe episode 7 of this season is fantastic. Even the last episode is fantastic. But chapeau to it's the DOP. Sorry, I don't remember the name. I apologize deeply. But anyway, the DOP of this TV show directed episode 7, and it's fucking amazing. The thing that I love about Severance is that if we compare episode 7 or other episode of Severance, the level of the cinematography, the level of the scene blocking, and how every frame is important in the storytelling, it's so cinematic that sometimes I go to movie theaters and I watch blockbuster or tentpole like The Electric State, and I don't see that level of love for and that level of complex grammar for the cinematic experience and the visual storytelling that we have in Severance. Episode 7, you know why episode 7 is freaking amazing? For two reasons. I'm not gonna spoil anything. I'm gonna talk just a little bit about the technical side and what I think about episode 7 and why it's fucking amazing. Because basically, the episode is about memories. We're traveling about memories and we're confronting those memories to the present. What is happening to one character in the present. And this whole thing, it's not a background story about the main character and that's it, just for flavor. It's very important to push forward the story. And What I love is that, one, it has the grammar of dreams, the kind of storytelling that dreams has, or not, to be more precise, not dreams, but memories. It has the grammar of memories. So basically, the way you remember things is never the way we actually remember things. So that's why they choose. They choose to have a cinematography and the way they're shooting stuff, even talking about frame rate and everything, that it's more connected to something that is more warmer, but the color are desaturated, and it's fucking amazing because you're talking about memories, something that doesn't matter if it's good, if it's love, or if it's drama, is something that you kind of keep inside yourself, and it's something that for you it's important. And it's amazing because Severance, if you check out Severance, the cinematography, the framing, it's always to give you a sense of order, mostly when you are inside Lumen. It's about order, it's about being aseptic. Lumen, it's all total white or greenish, those greenish color. It's all kind of, I kind of panic when I see when I see the office, the space office for Severance. I go nuts because it's insane, and it's driving you to being numb. That's what you see in Severance most of the time. Even when you see real life, the real the outie, everything is dark, everything is white, it's covered in snow, it's cold, the colors are cold. But in the memories, everything is a little bit brighter, everything is a little bit cozy. And this choice seems superficial, but it's not, because we're talking about memories. And I also like the fact that the way they treat time move between memories and the present, where those smooth and amazing transition between the memories in time, in memories in specific memories, how it connect to a specific moment in the present. And this basically transition between the memory and the present is so smooth, so well played, so amazingly shot, and the mise en scene is freaking good. And that episode, I gotta look, sorry, just for, because I respect too much who shot the episode, I gotta check out the name. Sorry guys, I'm gonna make noise with my keyboard, I don't care, but I respect so much the job done by the DOP of Severance that directed this episode, that I gotta mention her. I'm sorry, I gotta find the name. I found it. Jessica Lee Gagné. Sorry if I mispronounced the last name incorrectly. You are fucking brilliant. Maybe you will never listen to this podcast, I don't know, but you're so brilliant. My God. Ben Stiller, Jessica Lee Gagné. If you ever listen to this podcast, I want to be on set. I don't care about credit. I want to be on set. I will be super happy to see how you guys work. This was so good. Episode 7 is so good. And as I was saying at the beginning of this chunk of the podcast, this is the only episode since episode 8 of Twin Peaks that I was like, I want to rewatch this because this is so good. We are talking about that level of good. Episode 8 of Twin Peaks The Return, that level of good. This is so good. Because one thing that I really love about cinema is the grammar. One thing that we are losing in cinema most of the time is the visual storytelling in favor of a lot of chit chat. It's not a podcast. Cinema, television, they are not podcast. When I can start to, I don't know, check my ceiling and not watching the TV because everything they're saying, it's gonna be anyway storytelling, we are losing something. In Severance, if you check out of your window, if you check your library, if you just scratch your head and look outside, you're gonna lose an insane amount of storytelling. An insane amount. Because cinema and television, they are a visual medium, and everything goes through, not everything, but most of the thing is supposed to be told with cinematography, with the scene blocking, with the framing, with the performance of the. Of course, the performance are amazing. But anyway, even another small example before I wrap up. There is this scene of Ellie going to have a breakfast with her father, and the way she cut those boiled eggs drove me nuts. Drove me nuts, I'm supposed to say. Drove me nuts. I was there, I was like, oh, motherfucker. I don't know why, but there is something that is telling you the decision to shot that details, the way she cut the boiled egg, it's important. It's telling you something. And even this is really the last thing, and then I'm gonna wrap up this segment about Severance. Even the way they decided the design for the world of Severance, for the world of Lumen, the office space. It's not just, oh, look, it's kind of retro, Apple-ish kind of 90s computer or stuff like that. No, it's not to give you a flavor to be identified in a specific time frame, like nostalgia stuff, like, oh, everything is like in the 80s or in the 70s. Oh, it was so cute, amazing. It's not about that. It's because they want to create a space in time that it's not our time, it's not the past, it's not the present, it's not the future, it's not a dystopian, it's not an Ukrainian. It's something different. It's a different reality. And it's compelling, it's fascinating. And as I was saying before, it's something that it's giving you the idea that this space in time that is so weird. Even the car that Patricia Arquette drives, you go like, Jesus Christ, they must pay you an insane amount of money at Lumen. I believe that they're supposed to pay you well. What kind of car are you driving? Where are you living? But anyway, it's part of the storytelling. It's part of that space in time that doesn't exist and you can't find in reality. And it's a way to bring you into something new and different and rich. And I love it. And so, anyway, Severance Season 2, it's so amazing. I love how it works. I love everything about the show, and you gotta watch it. I don't care if you haven't watched Season 1. Watch Season 1, watch Season 2. You're gonna be super compelled by Season 1 that was already super good, and you want to watch Season 2. You don't want to miss this because this is great. Anyway, let's talk about another movie. In Italy was distributed at the end of 2024. I'm talking about Late Night with the Devil. But in Italy was if I remember correctly, didn't had a run in a movie theater. It just went straight to Amazon rental and Apple and stuff like that. But lately it was it's free it's part of the Prime Video catalog, at least in Italy. I don't know if it's in the US or whatever, it's or in UK was already available. I don't know. In Italy, just a couple of weeks ago last week basically was available on Amazon Prime, and I watched it and I loved it. Absolutely loved it. So what's the story about? It's about this guy named Jack. He's a TV show host. We are in the 70s, and he's tried to compete with Carson, but basically Carson is too powerful. Back then he was too powerful. Nobody could compete with Carson. Speaking of rating, and we have a similar this thing, this small part of the story, this backstory, it's as well part of the what's the movie about the Saturday Night. The movie is called Saturday Night. When they tried to create the first episode of the Saturday Night Live, the first episode, they talk about this. The Carson is trying to prove a point that it can't be replaced because it's gonna be always there with the ratings and stuff like that. Anyway, so this guy, he has a show called Night Owls, if I remember correctly, and basically he is losing rating because also after the demise of his wife because of cancer, lung cancer, he's basically goes in a spiral. He's super depressed, and when he comes back to the show, he's not the same guy, and the show is going down. He's basically losing rating and audience week after week. And so, as a last effort to save the show, he decides to invite this. She's a psychologist, let's call it psychologist, who wrote a book about a girl that was saved by a group of Satanists. Let's use a broader definition, and apparently she has a demon inside and they're trying to cure her or whatever, and so they try to basically summon this demon on live television, and this is the concept of the movie. But what is interesting about Late Night with the Devil is that I found fascinating this idea that you're not going to watch a movie, you're basically going to watch the late night show made by Jack. The actor is David Dasmashian. Sorry if I mispronounce your last name, but you are good. No, you're not good. You're great. I love you. If you don't know who he is, he's the polka dot guy in the Suicide Squad. He is the guy who get kidnapped by Harvey Dent in The Dark Knight. The guy that he's basically cuffed in the ambulance when they try to assassinate the mayor of, not the mayor of Gotham. They try to assassinate Dent, but Gordon gets shot. That thing, the whole scene. That guy that in every movie is like a secondary character or stuff like that. Here he's the main character and he's very, very good. He's impressive in the movie. So amazing. Chapeau to you, my good friend. Anyway, the thing is that the concept of the movie is that we watch the Late Show. We're not going to watch actually a movie. So everything is that we see is from the point of view of the camera that we have on set. And the only cinematic moment, it's in a specific moment that I'm not going to spoil. But everything else is like if we're watching a TV show, an old TV show from the 70s. And what is good is that this whole thing is from it's like a found footage because it starts like a documentary. So we have a voiceover talking about the 70s, New York and the Late Show era, the Carson era, and this guy trying to step into the picture and try to be a new Carson. And everything that we know about the main character, we know thanks to this introduction via documentary. And then they say whatever you're watching is basically the lost tape of this episode of Night Owls, plus the B-roll, I think they're called, so the behind the scene of the show. So when they cut to commercial, we don't cut to commercial, but we see what's happening behind the scene Okay, so we know everything that's going on because apparently whatever happened was super shocking. And this thing I loved because the movie has two main references that are amazing. The first thing is Ghostwatch. If you don't know what Ghostwatch is, you should. If you love those kind of stuff, because Ghostwatch was a TV show in the UK that went down in history like the same way Late Night with the Devil is trying to convince you that it's in a fictional space, of course. But anyway, Ghostwatch went down in history as one of the scariest show in the history of television in the UK, probably in the world, because basically for a special they decided to put on air this show where they were going to a house in the UK where there was this family that had poltergeist episode and had ghosts encounter and even kind of possession and stuff like that. And they told the audience that everything they were watching was true. And it was so convincing, even if there was a sort of disclaimer and they were advertising saying, oh, the new episode of Ghostwatch, that everybody knew that it wasn't a reality show, was something real. But anyway, even if they advertised that it was like an Halloween special and everything like that, people who watched the show believed that it was true. And it was so affecting on people that all around UK, there was a guy that the wife of this guy, if I remember correctly, she sued the network because he soiled himself watching the TV show. It was so scary and so real, according to what they thought it was, that he soiled himself. And there are also kind of a couple of very, very bad stories that I don't want to share because they're very dark. But anyway, he was banned from television. Basically, they never rerun it. And years later, there were kind of VHX on the black market of this show. And a couple of years back, they made a Blu-ray special with all the interviews. So you can buy it on Amazon. Ghostwatch is fucking amazing. And the other thing is Bohemian Grove. I think that in United States, many people know about the Bohemian Grove. But anyway, it was this thing. I never understood if it was a mix of reality and then speculation and myth and stuff like that. But basically, it was this thing that there was this Bohemian Grove. There was a sort of natural park in the forest in California, if I remember correctly, where many powerful people used to go there to have fun, let's say more in general. But many believe that it was as well a way to kind of have those powerful people to do kind of occult stuff, and as well to kind of share information, power. They were deciding how things were going. And the main character of this film is kind of part of this Bohemian Grove. It's called in another way, but that is what it is. Anyway, I love that they took those two kind of urban legend, let's call them like that, even if they are not, and use them as the bread and butter of the movie, because the movie it's about that. And what I love about this is that if you check many found footage movies, they are not believable, because sometimes there are like the music to make the jump scare work, and you go like, if it's a found footage, who added the music for the jump scare? You're like, come on. And the other thing is that most of the found footage, they don't work, they are super silly, they are kind of cheap. But this idea of have a TV show works way better, because it's one of the few horror movie of the last couple of years that gave me I had shiver. I was shivering at some point. I had kind of a cold thing going through my spine. At some point, my the hair on the back of my neck went straight, because there is a scene. I'm not going to spoil anything, but it's a scene that it breaks the fourth wall in a way that is super chilling, but makes sense because it's a TV show. So it makes super sense. But anyway, this choice, this decision to structure the movie in this way gives an insane value to the movie. And it's a 96-minute long movie, and I swear to God, for the whole thing, I was hooked, beginning to end. It works amazingly well. And at some point, when we have a couple of VFX, the VFX, I think they used in a very, very smart way, because we have a couple of special effects that are kind of old Hollywood trick, but at the same time we have a couple of VFX that basically are able to give a different something different about the demonic possession, and are very well played. And I believe the movie works because it's one of those movies that you know that you are watching a movie. You know it's fake. But anyway, it sells so well his premise that you're going to believe in it. Even if you know it's fake. It's clearly, you know it's a movie. But anyway, you believe it. And it works so well. And I believe that it works even better watching it at home, because you're actually watching television. I mean, I think that in a movie theater would be way, way impressive, because at the end it's a kind of a documentary. But watching it at home on your TV, it's kind of a scary kind of thing. I believe that if we had a movie like this in the 90s with the old television, with the old TV set, so we didn't have that kind of gap between the 70 television format and the modern television format that kind of brings you out a little bit. I think that this movie in the 90s would have been amazing. Would have scared the shit out of people watching it at home. I mean, it would be a hit. Massive, massive hit. But I believe it works nowadays as well, because the premises is so well developed and is so ingenious that it works amazingly well. So, to be honest, let's go to watch it. Late Night with the Devil. If you miss it in the theater, because I think in the United States was in a movie theater, was in movie theaters, I think you should watch it. It's very, 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 very good. Anyway, I want to close this episode with The Electric State. Let's talk about The Electric State. I'm speechless. To be honest, I don't know what to say about The Electric State, because everybody's talking about the fact that it's one of the most expensive movie, not in the history of Netflix itself, because it's the most expensive movie in the history of Netflix, because it costed 320 millions. But it's also one of the most expensive movie ever made. Ever. It's like in the top 10, if I remember correctly. It's insane. It's more expensive, if I remember correctly, than Avengers Infinity War. That it's like 300 and something million. The sequel, it's more expensive. Endgame, it's more expensive. But The Electric State, it's in between Infinity War and the Endgame. And the fact that this movie doesn't work in any capacity, it's baffling. Also because it's based on a graphic novel made by this Swedish comic book artist that imagine basically this alternative reality, alternative future, where basically the main plot is that in this alternative reality we have technology is way more developed than what we have now. So in the 90s we had already robots, and those robots were able to, even in the 80s we had those robots that were able to basically help humankind with basic tasks. For example, you go to a restaurant, the waitress, the cook, they are all robots, and all the stuff are made by robots. But at some point, they since they have a high intelligence, they basically decided that the meaning of life or their life can't be just be at service of human beings. So they kind of rebel, they go at war with humanity, and then humanity wins because there is this huge amazing scientist that invents a new technology to fight, basically using other robots, but they don't have artificial intelligence. They are just controlled by remote, by human beings, so they manage to have the upper hand. There is a plot hole in there as well, but anyway, the main this is how the movie tells the story. But in the comic book, my understanding, I want to read the comic book at this point. The art is amazing. In fact, the movie, the only thing good about the movie is that the art behind the robot, it's very good. The design, it's very good. So this is the only point in favor of the movie, but because probably it's taken from the comic book. And this idea of this alternative reality generated as well Tales from the Loop, the Prime Video show that I never watched, but at this point I want to watch because many people said, oh, that is very good. That is a good TV show. But anyway, the thing is that in the comic book, apparently, there are so many good themes, so many good things about this story, about this alternative reality, that in the film, they're just not there. Because apparently they completely changed the story, and all the fans of the comic book, once they saw the movie, they were disgusted by the fact that they say, this is so stupid. I mean, the story in the Electric State is so straightforward, is so shallow, is so empty, that I have no clue why they spent 320 million to make it. Just for the special effect? It's the only thing I can think about. Cast and special effect. They spent a shitload of money on cast and special effect. Because this is one of the main problems in Hollywood. They are trying to cut corners on the things that make the movie works. Writing and directing. They are trying to replace everything and cut corners and cut cost on the stuff that are more essential to make a good movie. Because the problem is not just that the story is so uninspired and shallow, and when every time the story tries to gives a couple of good ideas, like for the fact that she basically, Millie Bobby Brown, her character, she became orphan, and because her family and her brother that looks like is super intelligent, they died, and years later there is this robot that comes to get her, and it looks like the robot has the consciousness of the brother inside of him, and then she goes to find her brother because she thinks that he's alive, and somehow he managed to transfer himself in the robot. So this plot that is very straightforward had a couple of interesting things, like the fact that the brother gives an idea that I don't believe in God, but what I believe is that we are made of matter, and matter doesn't, if I remember correctly, it's like what they say in science, nothing gets destroyed, everything just get transformed. So when we die, we don't disappear. Our physical body disappears, but the matter that make us doesn't disappear, just get transferred. And so there is a chance of immortality in a way, because we can't fade away, we can't disappear. And it's very interesting. And this concept is gone. Is nowhere to be found in the movie. There is no exploration whatsoever. But most likely the biggest crime is that, as I was saying with Severance is so good because the visual storytelling, what the movie says with the framing, with the blocking of the scene, is so shallow as well in the Electric State. There is no shot, no framing, no There is no design behind the blocking of the scene that is in any form or shape inspired. This is a movie that, beginning to end, it was like saying, please, please save me from this pain, cancel everything, discard this reality, and give the plot for this movie to Steven Spielberg. Because this is kind of an adventure movie with deeper meaning behind that can be the bread and butter of Steven Spielberg filmography. He could be the one who, he can be the one able to direct this movie. The other guy, you know what? The other guy can be Neil Blomkamp, that is very able and capable to work with VFX. The other guy, I think with half of the money, Neil Blomkamp would have made a way better movie. Because he also has the ability to write a good story. This is a movie that was supposed to be a gift to Neil Blomkamp, Alex Garland. Speaking of adapting a story, writing a screenplay, those are the kind of guy that was supposed to write and produce The Electric State. Not because it's my idea. I believe that those guys were the perfect guy to take the Electric State, whatever was in the comic book, and bring them to life. Because this movie has no cinematography. I mean, there are no idea, visually speaking. It's boring. It's super boring. It's uninspired. It has nothing inside. And would be silly on my end to just say, to just dissect the movie scene by scene and tell you all the stupid things that the narrative does, because that's not the point. That's the surface. The fact that the narrative is shallow and boring, it's just the surface and doesn't make sense in some part. This movie, basically Netflix invested $320 million in a Sunday afternoon movie that you watch on your couch after you had, I don't know, a gigantic turkey, and that you start to watch, and after 20 minutes you, I don't know, depart and you have amazing dreams. And the Electric State just stays there in the background, and at some point you wake up with your dog licking your face, and you go like, oh God, what am I doing? What's that? oh Jesus, I was watching a movie, and then you just forget about it. This is what Electric State can be. This is a boring movie for a silly, bucolic Sunday afternoon, where the movie is not the main the main show. The main act is you sleeping with your dog on the couch. That's it. And it's insane. It's insane because, as I was saying, it's missing everything. Every little piece of storytelling, visually, narrative, speaking of writing, it's missing. And plus, I have no clue how it's possible that they took an actor like Chris Pratt and they managed to basically take away any chance or any ability that he has to be in a way iconic on screen. I mean, Chris Pratt works so well on screen. James Gunn understood the range of comedy and drama and the kind of goofy action hero that he can be, and he managed to encapsulate all his quality to make him an amazing Star-Lord, a guy, a character that you can remember. In this movie, they do the opposite. They manage to take away everything that makes Chris Pratt a great actor in what he can do. They manage to take away all his superpower as an actor and just give us a shallow, empty version of that guy. And to be honest, the only thing that I think that is kind of killing the movie is that Millie Bobby Brown, if you watch Millie Bobby Brown and every production, and they are all Netflix production, she wants to be the hero. She's like Michael Scott. She has this desire, insatiable desire to be the hero, that the movie goes, everything good about making a movie goes, I mean, it gets forgotten. You forget about everything else because the production has to make Millie Bobby Brown good. She has to be amazing. She has to be Michael Scarn. And in this way, the movie get killed. Any movie, any production she is in has this main, insane, gigantic problem that Millie Bobby Brown needs to be Michael Scarn. I believe this is the problem of every production with Millie Bobby Brown except Stranger Things. And I believe The Electric State is the example of everything we should not do when telling a story. Because the main problem today, and I'm going to close with this concept, with this idea, the main problem that we have today, it's not woke, the woke culture, this thing. I agree with the fact that Hollywood take everything that is good and good intended and nice in life and manage to warp it into something that's very extreme and stupid and mindless and empty in every meaning on the spectrum of the human experience. I understand that. I believe that there's a part of Hollywood that it's really kind of on a mission to destroy any good message that we can share. I believe that. But at the same time, I believe that this problem is caused by a lack of artistic value. I mean, it's not the meaning behind some of the woke, let's define like that, principles that are bad. It's how they are put in a story. You have to tell a story. So you have to find a way to tell a compelling story, a story where the audience can feel empathy with the characters, can feel rage, can feel disappointment, can even be angry toward the movie, but because of the story, not because of the story is badly written, but because of the story has something in it that creates a reaction in the audience. Okay, that's what David Lynch used to say. The audience is compelled to watch my movie when they are in the safety of a dark cinema theater. But as soon as they get out and they see the sunlight and they have to deal with what they have just saw, some of them, they're going to be angry because they don't want to deal with the fact that they were curious about some stuff, or they just were not, they were rejecting some part of the story because it make them feel disgusted, or they make them feel uncomfortable. But that's what a movie is supposed to do. But in any case, doesn't matter if it's a story for kids, doesn't matter if it's a story for young adult, for adult, doesn't matter what the level of the story is and for what kind of audience your story is going to be directed. Doesn't matter. What matters is that you gotta tell a compelling story. Then in your compelling story, of course, doesn't matter what story is, you're gonna say something, otherwise the story is empty. Because any story has a morality in a way. I found silly that some people, sorry if I talk about a game for a second, but sometimes I go online and I see people saying, oh, I just missed the old Metal Gear games. They were not political whatsoever. And you go like, oh my God. Hideo Kojima, was super political, always. A game like Metal Gear Solid 3 probably today would be considered woke. Probably. Most likely by some people that they have no clue what Metal Gear Solid is all about. But anyway, in movies, even in classic movie cherished by people who goes around saying that they hate the woke culture, or they go around saying go woke, go broke, sometimes they cherish movies that have inside ideas that can be considered woke. It's just that the storytelling is so good, and the way the story is presented to the audience and the way the characters are built is so well done that you kind of absorb those stuff in the background, because the most important thing is the story and how you build your metaphor to talk about some stuff. Because every artist looks at the world, thinks about what is seeing, thinks about reality, and then postulate an idea or a concept and come up with a story to tell. Okay, that's what Kojima has always done. For example, in gaming, there are games that basically Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty is basically talking about what we are living in the last 5 to 6 years. He's talking about the present, but it was made in like 2011, if I remember correctly, and it was talking about social media, information, manipulation of information. It was talking about that, and it was telling us to be aware of how the future would have been dangerous, and it was right. But because he had an open eye on the reality, and he created an amazing and compelling story. Many things. We can say so many things about storytelling and the problem with Hollywood right now. The main problem is that they don't have good creative most of the time. They have a couple, but they're kind of hidden in plain sight, like Alex Garland, like Neil Blomkamp. And there are so many good screenwriters, and they don't get the due credit. I think Craig Mazin, the developer of The Last of Us, he's a very solid, good screenwriter. He's very good. Brian Johnson is a very good screenwriter. I don't care what people say about one of his Star Wars, but he's very good. He's a very good director as well. I believe in it. If you check out his movies, he is very brilliant. He's the director of the Knives Out series. Now he became famous because of that. But even if you go back in his cinematography, he's very good. I believe that Hollywood is forgetting to tell amazing stories, and in forgetting about his best writer and director in the industry. Because, and then I'm gonna wrap this up, in The Last of Us, Ellie, she's a lesbian. And you know why nobody cares? Because the way it's written is not about, the whole point of the story is not constantly remembering you about the fact that she's a lesbian, she has rights. She's just a character who happened to be a lesbian. You care about her love interest, you care about her story, you care about everything about her, because the story is super compelling. And the fact that she's a lesbian, nobody cares about, because it's just part of what she is. More inclusive than this, I don't know how it can get. Because things are inclusive when you just, say, yeah, she's lesbian, okay. Why you're pointing it out? It's fine. What's the matter here? I don't know. I accept it. I never thought about it before you mentioned it. Why you gotta be weird? Like like the sketch, the bit with Conan O'Brien at the Oscar when he pointed out that Adam Sandler was not dressed up. Why you doing this? Now you brought it up and everybody noticed. Why you're doing this? if you don't say it, nobody will give a crap. That's how a good storytelling works. When stuff are so part of the whole thing, you don't even realize it. We gotta tell good stories. The Electric State, it's not telling a good story. Not in writing, not visually. So I'm gonna wrap this up. Today we have a couple of bad noises in the background. I apologize. I swear to God, for a whole 2 weeks, if I remember correctly, there was not a single noise. Today somebody decided to make noise just because I was recording. That's evil. That's evil. But anyway, guys, I hope to hear from you soon. Thank you for listening. Thank you for, in case you want to leave a comment, do it. If you want to follow the podcast, rate the podcast, share it. It's all going to help out to give me a chance to talk about movies even in English and build something amazing with you guys. So, see you soon. Let me know what do you think about the stuff that we discussed in the episode, and bye. Ciao.